o'clock. Welcome to ZTN News Blitz. Let's take a look at our top stories. IMF considers alternative COVID-19 funding facilities for Zimbabwe. The Zimbabwe High Court orders police not to beat people. The WHO warns against early lifting of COVID-19 lockdowns. And in sport, Coventry launches support for athletes during pandemic. The International Monetary Fund says it's exploring alternative funding facilities for Zimbabwe to cushion the Southern African country in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. This comes after the IMF board approved a debt service relief to 25 countries under its Catastrophe Containment and Relief Trust as part of its COVID-19 response. Zimbabwe is not part of the 25 beneficiaries. Neighboring Malawi and Mozambique are beneficiaries. IMF country representative to Zimbabwe, Patrick Amir Imam, told ZTN that the country did not qualify for this program as it had cleared all its $109 million United States debt arrears with the institution. Local economic analyst Kudzanai Sharara had this to say.
The IMF and other financial institutions, they've got different debt packages, and for this particular one where 25 countries are set to get debt relief, it's only for those countries that already owe the IMF and are supposed to make their periodical payments to the IMF. But as a result of COVID-19, those countries will be hard pressed to be able to service their loans with the IMF. These are the countries that have been given this debt relief, and it includes our neighbors Malawi and Mozambique. We have managed to qualify. Zimbabwe does not qualify because it paid back its loans to the IMF back in 2016.
ZTN correspondent Andy Hodges unpacks why Zimbabwe did not benefit from the debt relief.
The big question, of course, is why can it not access any form of relief funds or some of the funds that are going around from multinational institutions? Well, the IMF, for example, in 2015 had what they called the Post-Catastrophe Debt Relief Trust, PCDR. They've now converted that to the Catastrophe Containment and Relief Trust. There's only one problem with that. It's geared towards low-income countries and it's really geared towards debt relief. And the problem is Zimbabwe does not owe the IMF any money. In fact, Zimbabwe only owes three main creditors. That's the African Development Bank, the World Bank, and the Paris Club of Creditors. Those are the people that Zimbabwe owes money to. And there's an agreement between those three institutions that if we pay one, we must pay the other. So until all of them are paid, we're not going to get any form of credit out to those institutions. Let's get back to the IMF. So because we do not support or we do not owe the IMF any money, in fact, I think we paid them back way back in around 2006, if I'm not mistaken. The fact is this, is that the world institutions will not give us money, and Zimbabwe is going to have to look for humanitarian aid from institutions like United Nations, World Food Programme, and WHO, that's the World Health Organization, to try and get some form of humanitarian aid. But if Zimbabwe is looking for balance of payment support to help crippling industry, to help look after its workers, look at building hospitals, look at building infrastructure, particularly health infrastructure, it is not going to get it from any of these multilateral institutions. I'm Andy Hodges reporting for News Blitz.
Still with the virus, after losing 3 precious lives, Zimbabwe is set to transform one of the country's biggest referral hospitals, Padre to become its COVID-19 center. Until now, Wilkins Hospital has been holding fort, but has lately been overwhelmed. The decision was reached after Vice President Kembo Mohadi interfaced with doctors who are at the forefront of tackling the virus.
So they said that we should actually think of refurbishing Parerenyatwa. And I agree with them that we need for Parerenyatwa. But they went further to say that since Parerenyatwa is a hospital that also admits people that are non-COVID-19, so they need to be divided into two. There must be an area that deals primarily with COVID-19 areas, and they said that it could be called the red area and the green area.
Padre Group of Hospitals spokesperson Linus Dire said the facility should be ready before the end of April.
We started with partitioning that area now. The southern part is the red zone. The northern part of the main hospital is the green zone. We expect that by next week everything should be in order, by the end of next week.
Zimbabwe's High Court has barred the police from beating up people and subjecting them to inhumane treatment when enforcing lockdown measures. There have been growing concerns that the police are being irrational in their enforcement, sometimes delaying or denying people who offer critical services the chance to execute their duties. Police spokesperson Assistant Commissioner Paul Nyati spoke to ZTN.
We expect police officers to be professional in the way they are performing their duties. On the other hand, we also want members of the public to realize that what is being done is for their own safety, it's for their own health. The challenge which we have is that like today, there were too many cars intending to drive into the CBD of Harare, into the CBD of Lawan. So officers have had to be very, very, very strict, because we realized that some of the people were just going to the CBD, but they don't have exemptions.
After losing half a dozen family members during the Rwandan genocide in 1994, Amelie Ngangatare lifted herself, relocated to Europe, and is now preaching the gospel of reconciliation. Of course, many would have expected her to be full of hate and anger. The Rwandan genocide, also known as the genocide against the Tutsis, was a mass slaughter of Tutsi, Twa, and moderate Hutus in Rwanda, which took place between April 7th and July 15th, 1994, during the Rwandan Civil War. Amelie opened to ZTN from her Austrian base.
Happened. I learned it many years later. And my thought was, he's living, I'm living too. The best which could happen is that he lives well, that he receive a second chance, that he change and contribute to something good. And I'm here to help you. I don't hate you. I hate only what you have done. But I want to help you to do it better. It is possible with love.
World Health Organization Chief Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has warned that lifting coronavirus lockdown measures too early could spark a deadly resurgence in infections. He said countries should be cautious about easing restrictions, even as some struggle with the economic impact. Europe's worst-hit countries, Spain and Italy, are both relaxing some measures while their lockdowns continue. Globally, there are 1.6 million cases of coronavirus and 101,000 deaths.
While COVID-19 accelerates very fast, it decelerates much more slowly. In other words, the way down is much slower than the way up. That means control measures must be lifted slowly and with control. It cannot happen all at once. Control measures can only be lifted if the right public health measures are in place.
We move now to sports, and Zimbabwe's Minister of Youth, Sport, Arts and Recreation, Kirsty Coventry, has launched the United Programme for athletes and artists in Zimbabwe.
This is a platform and an initiative that is leading us through this COVID-19, but it also long-term will be a platform where we will be able to stay up to date with what our artists and athletes are doing. We'll be able to continually support them, and it's just a great way to be able to show our unity. We're so proud of our artists and athletes and everything that they do, and this is a great way to show appreciation, but also for them to lead and to show their leadership and to share with us all their different ways that they go about their days.
Premier Soccer League side Highlanders have launched a fundraising initiative to help equip Egusileni Medical Center. The facility will treat COVID-19 patients in Bulawayo. The club confirmed the news on Monday, saying Highlanders would like to take this opportunity to officially launch the COVID-19 fundraising campaign, whose purpose is to galvanize support for and to equip Egusileni, the hospital that will cater for COVID-19 patients. And that's all from us on News Blitz. Join us again for more news tomorrow and follow our social pages. Thanks for watching.